Hello and welcome to another Demon 212 PC review. Today I'm going to be taking a look at Alice Madness Returns, which if you've never played it before, it's a platformer, action, adventure type platformer. It is the sequel to American McGee's Alice, which is now finally on consoles, and if you're buying this game new for your PS3 or your Xbox, then you should get a copy free. If not, it's something like 800 points or £6 or $7 or something on it, respective stores, and you can also download it on the PC from the EA Store Origin. And it's well worth checking that one out before you check this one out. So much so that if you've not played the first one, you might want to watch the second review. So I'll give you a few seconds to leave, and there we go. So, the whole point of this one is it's set pretty much right after the first one, and you're now trying to find out what actually caused the fire that, well, killed your parents. The story's excellent, but to avoid doing spoilers of how to go along, I'm going to show very basic minimal stuff off like I do in pretty much every vid of a brand new release. So anyway though, before I get into the game, seeing as I've sat in the menus and not said anything about them, there's a lot of different options. You can go into your memories, and they're just things that you'll find throughout the game. I will explain them. You can go into the extra content, which despite the fact that there is actually a little bit of DLC for it, the extra content isn't actually that. It's just watching the cinematics again and looking at enemy stats and things like that. The configuration is pretty much obvious. You can customize the keys for PC, and you can play the game on Xbox pad. And I will go through the controls a bit later because I do have a slight little problem with them. The game manual is where EA has done their usual money saving. It's the full, like, 20-page manual, only now as a download thing rather than coming with the game, which I must admit is a bit of a shame, because the first one came with two manuals, and one was for story and one was for the game, and I actually quite liked that it was there. It added a little bit of touch to it, because it's rare that PC games have them. So, I'm going to cut into somewhere in the first chapter now, and I'll get on to showing and talking about the game. Right then, first thing I'll mention is the DLC, which are the dresses, and I don't have them because at the moment, unfortunately, you could only get the dresses by buying the complete collection on the Origin store, and as I already owned the first one, I wasn't going to buy it again. However, the dresses just have slight different powers, like one makes you more powerful, one allows you to have your shrink sense on all of the time, and just things like that. They're just there supposed to make the game easier, so if you're struggling, go out and get them, or if you've just beat the game and you're after a little bit more fun with it, then get them as well. Anyway, there's quite a lot about this which really is different. The first game was just pretty much a straight up action platformer. Now it's, instead of loads of little levels, a handful of huge chapters, so you're still pretty much getting the same gameplay. There's loads of things to collect on the levels and to find. There's memories which help unlock Alice's past. There's rooms, challenge rooms, where you have to solve riddles and challenges and things like that, and you can get more health. There's a weapon upgrade system, so you can make your weapons more powerful. There's just all sorts of different things that are basically saying, yeah, this is a full-blown sequel. The gameplay is pretty much just as good as it was, only they've changed a few things. The combat kind of works a bit like Ocarina of Time, because there's a lock-on system now, and you can cycle through your enemies and you can hack and slash them, or you can shoot the crap out of them with your pepper mill, or just do anything. There's loads of combos to mix around by swapping weapons, and the combos work really well. They're quite fluid. There's also now a dodge system on the game and things like that, so you can counter and get out the way, and the whole game has really had a lot of work done, and I honestly didn't think that the game would be anything like this or anywhere near as good. I thought we were just going to get a slightly graphical better version of the first one with more story, and instead they've totally blown us away. But while they've made a load of new stuff for the game, it's still pretty much got the same gameplay. It's an action adventure platformer, so there's solving puzzles, there's jumping over obstacles and things like that. There are some slight little problems with the game that I'm seeing, and that's that people don't seem to understand what sort of game this is. I've, without mentioning any names or any sites or anything like that, read one review that I couldn't believe absolutely slated the game for having invisible walls stopping him from solving puzzles in the way he wanted to. This is not an Uncharted game, this is not a Gears of War game, it is not anything other than an old school style platformer. There is one definitive solution for every puzzle on the game, and if you try and solve that puzzle in your own way, the game punishes you by popping up an invisible wall and you die. So you have to find the one and one only way. There's a new ability for Alice on this to be able to shrink, and people are kicking off that you can't walk through everything that you quite clearly should be able to walk through. Again, it's a case of there's only one definitive version and way of solving a puzzle, and quite frankly, I'd hate to see a game that came out that allowed you to exploit all these little things. For example, Knights of the Old Republic on the PC would have been a shorter game for me because I killed the boss the first time I met him. So, little things like that out the way of just, well, slating the fact that people don't seem to get what this is. Basically, if you don't like old school platformer action-y type games, you're not going to like this because it's been made for fans of the first game. If you loved everything about the first game, I don't think you're going to have any complaints unless you don't like the new combat system. Personally, I do like the new combat system though, and think everything about it makes it more fluid and makes it easier to play the game. But the puzzles on the game are certainly the same sort of thing you'll have been coming up against, and similar sorts of solutions, just maybe on a grander scale with a hell of a lot better looking graphics. So if anyone tells you that the game's broken, try it yourself and see what you think. Unfortunately though, it's one of those where I say try it for yourself. I don't think there's a demo available for the consoles as I do this vid, and hopefully there will be one so that people can try it out, because I think when it's getting this sort of questionability with reviews, slating things that are quite obviously meant to be there and meant to be a part of the game, I think a demo is kind of necessary. So hopefully they'll bring one out so you can try it, because I understand not everyone's exactly got the money at the moment to go out and just buy everything as, well, whenever they see it and want it. But anyway, enough of that, enough of economics and all sorts of other crap. Back to the gameplay. There's all sorts of different things that they've done with this. The ability to shrink, as I say, is there now, and when you're in that, it allows you to see some things that are invisible. It allows you to use those plants for health. The teeth are basically spent on upgrades, so in case you were wondering why I was collecting them. And there's just little things like you can now pull out an umbrella for a defensive thing, and you can actually, if you get it timed right, you can fire a projectile back at an enemy so that way they can, well, obviously deal damage. There's now a triple jump system, and you can also glide using your skirt by leaving it open, and just loads of little tweaks that they've done that really have been done, I think, for the fans. Pretty much everything that I wanted out of the last game that wasn't there has now been added to this one, and I'm thinking, I don't know how long they've spent listening to their fans, but personally they've listened to everything I said that could have been done, and they've certainly implemented it well. So the only other things I can pretty much mention about the game are, graphically it's amazing. I really do think they've done a great job. The locations look, well, just mind-blowing. Voice acting wise, they've got the full cast back as far as I'm aware, and the people who've done the music as well to do this one, so you can immediately tell that the characters, the reason they sound like they did in the last one is because they are the last one. Although the Cheshire Cat seems to have put on a slightly different voice and accent, but either way, he still sounds really good and menacing and creepy, and there's loads of other side characters that play a part, little parts that sound great. Other gameplay things I suppose I can mention but not show, and you'll hopefully understand when you get to them yourself in the game. Firstly, it's really hard when you're trying to talk. I've died like 7 times saying this, like just speaking here, but there's little gameplay elements like you'll become giant in a section, you'll gain other powers in other sections, and little bits and bobs like that, and I think they work well, and I think they break up the normal style of gameplay well, but for the most part it is just a handful of really large chapters with loads of puzzles to solve, loads of combat and gore, and it's just, as I say, if you like the first game you're going to love this one, and if you've never played the first game, well, try it out. It's hopefully going to be available as a regular download so that you don't have to buy the second one just to try the first one, because that would make the most sense if they're not going to then do a demo. And while it's not really of much importance, there is a couple things I can mention left with, just like how the sets and all that, and the environments got a lot of detail in them, so much so that when you have to smash things to get the teeth out on the forest level, you actually get a load of snails and that, and then on the Potter part of the Mad Hatter part, it's Mad Hatter's pots, and how things like that just change with the environment as they go along. Unfortunately though, there's not all perfect with this game. There are a couple problems, and I'm really hoping that they're PC only, and I'm really hoping that a patch is in the works, so much so that I even emailed EA and they said that they'd pass everything on to the developer, because they're at the moment obviously after feedback with needing to know what's what needs fixing. Basically, the keys on the controls. If you're playing with a mouse and a keyboard, some of the keys I've noticed don't work properly, even though you've set them, that the actions just don't work. And I've had to actually swap to playing the game with an Xbox pad because it does support it. So I'm just saying this as a little warning for those who are after the PC version. If you've got a pad, that's not going to be a problem. If not, just look and see if there's a patch out that fixes it, because it's not game ending or anything, it's just a little glitch every now and then with the keys, it seems, and ever since I've swapped to the pad I've not found any of these problems. So as I say, if you've got a pad, you're sorted. If not, just do the smart thing, research, type in the likes of Alice Madness patch on Google, you know. So that's pretty much it then. So there we go then, that's been the review. I hope you found it helpful. I don't score the games because that's based purely on opinion, so instead I'll leave you to make your own mind up. So thanks for watching, and if you've got any questions about the game that I didn't answer in the vid or that hasn't been answered in the comments, then feel free to ask and I'll help if I can. Also, if you did find it helpful, don't forget to check out my channel because there's plenty more like this up there, and don't forget to subscribe because there'll be plenty more to come as well. So until next time, this has been Demon212, signing off.